Jumping, which initiates a boy into manhood. First, female relatives dance and invite whipping from men. Darzanak.
Yes.
These two villages couldn't have been more different. Darzanak means people from the delta. They are the southernmost of the tribes who live in Ethiopia's Omo Valley and stretch across southern Ethiopia, Sudan, and down into northern Kenya, concentrating in the delta region where the Omo River enters Lake Turkana.
How far is it from here? So now we are close, huh? Don't move me, please.
Men do ask to be whipped on their backs and the men oblige, scarring their skins with each stroke. It is believed the greater the pain, the higher the level of submission and loyalty they are showing to the Maza, and the scars left on their bodies are a symbol of the loyalty they are to receive in turn from him. The idea is that at some point in the future, the girls may need the young man's help and show him their scars, as if obligating him to provide the requested assistance. This makes the ceremony and the tribe truly unique. The bull jumping ceremony ends with several days of feasting. Typical jumping dance is accompanied by sorghum-made beer and coffee which the Ukilai's family provides to the guests. The bull jumping ceremony preparations. Before the young man leaps over the cattle, he passes through a curious rite of passage. His head is partially shaved and his body rubbed with sand, as this is believed to wash away his sins. He is also smeared with dung to give him strength, and strips of the bark of the tree are strapped around his body in a cross form for spiritual protection. The castrated cattle in turn are also smeared with dung to make them slippery. Usually about 7 to 10 castrated cows are lined up representing the women and children of the tribe. If the man in question is lame or blind, he is helped across the cattle by others and must be through with this initiation rite before he can be deemed fit to marry the woman chosen to him by his parents, and he can now start his own family and build his herd. Bride price payments usually amount to about 36 goats and 20 cattle. A local alcoholic beverage made with sorghum is served to those who came to celebrate the bar mitzvah of the Hama tribe. Hama women dressed in their traditional regalia are adorned with bells around their legs while they dance together and play their loud horns, initiating the boy into manhood. It is time for the young boy to be initiated through the ceremony, and according to tradition, he is usually stripped naked before he attempts the leap. With the blaring sounds of bells and horns in the air, the boy takes a leap usually 4 or 5 times across the castrated cattle, demonstrating his agility, valor, and strength. And if successful, he is then sent to the elders and mazza, young men who are still single and have recently done the bull jumping ceremony, who in turn bless him, shave his head and crowns him with the title mazza. But if the odds are against him, and he is unsuccessful, falling more than 4 times, he would have to wait for another year to try again. Once successful, he becomes a man and animal skin is placed on his neck amid cheers from kinsmen and blowing of horns. The kinsmen and neighbors relocate for a huge dance which usually continues until the early hours. The role of the Hama women. On the afternoon of the leap, women and young girls are whipped with a birch stick as part of the ritual ceremony. The fierce women in this region are famous for their multitude of colorful beads, polished iron jewelry and numerous piercings that adorn their bodies. This is an intriguing, yet somewhat brutal process, since the women do ask to be whipped on their backs and the men oblige, scarring their skins with each stroke. It is believed the greater the pain, the higher the level of submission and loyalty they are showing to the mazza, and the scars left on their bodies are a symbol of the loyalty they are to receive in turn from him. The idea is that at some point in the future, the girls may need the young man's help and show him their scars, as if obligating him to provide the requested assistance. This makes the ceremony and the tribe truly unique. The bull jumping ceremony ends with several days of feasting. Typical jumping dance is accompanied by sorghum-made beer and coffee which the Ukili's family provides to the guests. The bull jumping ceremony preparations. Before the young man leaps over the cattle, he passes through a curious rite of passage. His head is partially shaved and his body rubbed with sand, as this is believed to wash away his sins. He is also smeared with dung to give him strength, and strips of the bark of the tree are strapped around his body in a cross form for spiritual protection. The castrated cattle in turn are also smeared with dung to make them slippery. Usually about 7 to 10 castrated cows are lined up representing the women and children of the tribe. If the man in question is lame or blind, he is helped across the cattle by others and must be through with this initiation rite before he can be deemed fit to marry the woman chosen to him by his parents, and he can now start his own family and build his herd. Bride price payments usually amount to about 36 goats and 20 cattle. A local alcoholic beverage made with sorghum is served to those who came to celebrate the bar mitzvah of the Hama tribe. Hama women dressed in their traditional regalia are adorned with bells around their legs while they dance together and play their loud horns, initiating the boy into manhood. It is time for the young boy to be initiated through the ceremony, and according to tradition, he is usually stripped naked before he attempts the leap. With the blaring sounds of bells and horns in the air, the boy takes a leap usually 4 or 5 times across the castrated cattle, demonstrating his agility, valor, and strength. And if successful, he is then sent to the elders and mazza, young men who are still single and have recently done the bull jumping ceremony, who in turn bless him, shave his head and crowns him with the title mazza. But if the odds are against him, and he is unsuccessful, falling more than 4 times, he would have to wait for another year to try again. Once successful, he becomes a man and animal skin is placed on his neck amid cheers from kinsmen and blowing of horns. The kinsmen and neighbors relocate for a huge dance which usually continues until the early hours. Bull jumping is an amazing event. It is a ceremony of the Hama tribe in the lower Omo Valley in South Ethiopia. It is a ceremony every man has to go through on his way to adulthood, before he can marry. The candidate has to leap 3 times back and forth over the backs of a row of bulls. The Hama tribe is an Omotic community residing in southwestern Ethiopia. They hail from the Omo River Valley in the Debub Omo zone, with villages in Termi and Dimika representing approximately 0.1% of the total Ethiopian population. With major activities ranging mostly from honey collection and rearing of cattle, the Hama tribe are mostly Muslim shepherds, living in camps consisting of several families. At night, the cattle are brought into the center of the circle until the early hours of the next day, when it is time for grazing again. This has been the tradition of the Hama tribe for generations. It is a fascinating culture, as they do not believe in individual land ownership. It's free for cultivation and grazing, same as fruits are free for whoever collects them. This famous bull jumping ceremony of the Hama tribe is the culmination of a 3-day-long rite of passage for a young boy, Ukulai, transitioning into manhood. The event is graced by most of the communities across the Omo Valley in southwestern Ethiopia and is aimed at putting the young boy's valor and bravery to the test. He must be able to conquer his fears and get through with the task in order for him to be considered a man. This ritual is important because passing it qualifies him to own cattle, get married, and raise children. By tradition, the eldest child of the family must go through the bull jumping ceremony rite of passage before his younger ones can follow, and it is the father that decides when his eldest son is ready.
Don't move me, please.
Okay. Corre. ሰውነቱ ላይ ገቡና አሁን ያንቺ ሲስነ እነሱ ደግሞ አርግቷዳር ስለሆነ ጠንካራ ሰውነት አለ። ይሄ ብርድ አይመታም ምናምን አያረግም። ልብስ አይለብስም። አይሻል ጀርባ ላይ አይሻል
can make it night later, then.
Good.
Video.
Oh, basal leme. Yedi wa ye nekni. Ah, shigrele. Mar nasur ere kaisi dere. Kore nasur dia mudare abdare. Wul sirano no sikila idele. Ah, yedi Amro lala kina. Turala oleh. Jadi kontrol kali ini ada di saya ini amat saya antar sesuatu.